Hello, and welcome to another edition of Baseball Weekend Journal. I'm your host, Paul Shivari. This week, I'll continue to monitor the movement around the Hot Stove League as big names continue to be looking for homes in 2016 while other players are signed. I explore the Australian Baseball League as their regular season winds down and talk about some of the players that may have a chance to come to the United States and play in the show. And as the NFL gets ready to put a team back in Los Angeles without the Oakland Raiders, I look at what this means for the Oakland Athletics and where they may end up playing if they depart from the Oakland Coliseum. All this and more on Baseball Weekend Journal for the week of January 16th, 2016. With a little over 4 weeks until pitchers and catchers report to spring training, teams are still finalizing their rosters. There is an abundance of talent that remains on the open market, including veteran outfielders and pitchers. Some of the names that are still available have been mentioned on previous episodes of this show, which goes to show how lengthy the process can be for some of these free agents. The market for outfielders took a turn this week when the Colorado Rockies signed Gerardo Parra, who is now the fourth left-handed hitting outfielder on the Rockies' projected 25-man roster. While the Rockies are overstocked with outfielders, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim find themselves still shopping for a left fielder. The Angels were previously linked to Parra, as well as Justin Upton and Yoenis Cespedes. The team is at risk to exceed the $189 million luxury tax threshold if they go after Upton or Cespedes. Cespedes is rumored to be looking for a $150 million deal over 6 years and will probably not budge on accepting a one-year deal. Upton, meanwhile, will not accept a short-term deal, and I speculate that he expects to be paid around $20 million a season. But let's bring it back to the Angels and the Rockies. The teams may be on the verge of a trade that would send one of the Rockies' outfielders to the Angels. I would rule out Carlos Gonzalez since he is owed $37 million over the remaining 2 years of his contract and over $11 million average annual value. The Angels are interested in Charlie Blackmon, but might be turned away by his lower offensive numbers away from hitter-friendly Coors Field. If the Angels are unsuccessful in signing or trading for somebody in left field, they will be looking at platooning Daniel Nava and Craig Gentry. Both of those players hit below 200 in shortened campaigns during the 2015 season. The Baltimore Orioles offered Chris Davis a $154 million contract for 7 years that was turned down last month. Now that Parra has signed with the Rockies and Davis still hasn't signed with the team, the Orioles are still in need of an outfielder. Reports say that the Orioles have offered Yoenis Cespedes a contract, though the terms of that offer were never revealed. MASN's Rock Kabatko reported that the Orioles want to re-sign Davis, but their patience is wearing thin, so now their focus is on Cespedes. If the Orioles are willing to spend a little more per season than they would have with Davis, I could see Cespedes signing with Baltimore. The Atlanta Braves, who have been sellers of big-name talent rather than buyers in recent years, have been linked as a landing spot for Cespedes. I don't think they will go after Justin Upton since he was traded away from the Braves just over a year ago. Cespedes would complement Freddie Freeman and the Major League arrival of Dansby Swanson to help the Braves start a new chapter when they open up their brand new home, SunTrust Park, in 2017. While free agents continue to shop for larger contracts and newer surroundings, teams are offering extensions to the players who have performed well and who may continue to perform well in years to come. This week saw Miami Marlins second baseman Dee Gordon re-up with the Fish for $50 million over 5 years. This is a big move for the Marlins, who have committed a lot of money to all-star outfielder Giancarlo Stanton and seem to be holding on to Jose Fernandez despite trade rumors surrounding the young phenom pitcher. Dee Gordon had an impressive season in his first year with the Marlins after spending time in Los Angeles with the Dodgers. In Gordon's first year in Miami, he hit over 200 hits, averaging over 300 with 58 stolen bases. He won the Gold Glove for his defensive skills and was the National League's top-hitting second baseman, winning the Silver Slugger. Gordon has the most stolen bases by any player since 2011 and is only 27 years old. He will turn 28 shortly after the start of the upcoming season and projects to have another great season, but may see his offensive output drop a little, assuming he is healthy enough to play all year. Gregory Polanco is rumored to be looking for a contract extension with the Pittsburgh Pirates. If I were the Pirates, I would lock up the young right fielder right now. Polanco, along with Andrew McCutchen and Starling Marte, would be a dominant core of outfield talent that could propel the Pittsburgh Pirates for the remainder of the decade. The National League Central is one of the toughest divisions in baseball, and Pittsburgh, despite not having big market money to compete with the likes of the St. Louis Cardinals and the burgeoning Chicago Cubs, has the opportunity to piece together a really good team that will give the other clubs a run for their big market money. I'll preview the National League Central, as well as all of the other divisions, in the weeks of spring training games leading up to the start of the 2016 MLB regular season. The San Diego Padres made a big splash in the previous offseason, signing Matt Kemp and Justin Upton along with their other moves. The plan didn't work, and the Padres found themselves near the bottom of the National League West Division. The Padres are in need of a shortstop and may have answered those needs with the signing of Alexei Ramirez to a one-year contract. Ramirez was bought out of his contract by the Chicago White Sox, where he spent his entire 8-year Major League career since defecting from Cuba. I personally think Alexei Ramirez could benefit from moving to a warmer climate and could see a small resurgence in his offensive numbers before the 34-year-old's career comes to a close. Starting pitchers Giovanni Gallardo and Ian Kennedy continue to be on the open market. Starting pitching comes at such a premium, and every team can use the help. However, not all teams are willing to spend a lot on a starting staff. With the loss of Johnny Cueto to this offseason and James Shields to the previous offseason, the Kansas City Royals seem primed to lock up either Gallardo or Kennedy. Look for something to happen for one of those guys this week. Once one domino falls, the other isn't too far behind. That's how the Hot Stove League works for certain positions. Next week, I'll continue to cover the transactions around the league as teams start finalizing their plans for spring training. While North America clamors for the summer and keeps warm in the Hot Stove League over the winter, in Australia, professional baseball is being played every weekend. The Australian Baseball League, which was formed in 2010 as it is known today, plays every Thursday through Sunday from November to February. There are 6 teams, 3 of which will compete in the playoffs for the Claxton Shield. The Perth Heat are the defending champions and have won the championship series 4 out of the last 5 seasons. The current regular season will finish next weekend. I will be sure to keep you posted in the following weeks on the playoff series and the championship series during the first weekend in February. This year, the Brisbane Bandits, who are the only ABL team to have never reached the playoffs, find themselves at the top of the field holding on to a 3-game lead and should be able to hold on these last 2 weekends to advance into the championship series. The second and third place teams will face off in the playoff round to determine who will face Brisbane in the championship series. The top players in the league this year include some American players as well as Australian players. Justin Williams of the Brisbane Bandits was born in Louisiana and drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks in the second round of the 2013 draft and is currently holding on to the top batting average. He is hitting .347 with 9 home runs. The 20-year-old outfielder is now in the Tampa Bay Rays system and will more than likely find a spot on one of their minor league affiliates this upcoming summer. He bats left-handed and throws right-handed and could make an impact in Double-A ball with the Montgomery Biscuits. Kyle Petty currently leads the ABL with 13 home runs for the Adelaide Bite and is a Seattle Mariners prospect at first base. He will turn 25 this March and is off the radar of top Mariners prospects lists. There are not too many prospects at first base for the Mariners, and this could help Petty move up those lists this summer if he can continue to hit for power and average. He could end up with the Jackson Generals, the Mariners' Double-A team. Colorado Rockies prospect Alex Balog ended his Australian career in December after 8 starts for the Sydney Blue Sox. He posted a 5-2 record and 1 complete game, striking out 45 batters over 46 2/3 innings. The University of San Francisco product reached the Rockies' team-imposed innings limit, but was still allowed to pitch in the ABL All-Star game, throwing 2 scoreless innings and striking out 2 of the 9 batters he faced. Balog, along with Petty and Williams, should be able to find success back in the United States and will probably benefit from getting to compete in a warm climate during the offseason. Some of the other prospects from Major League teams include first baseman Rhys Hopkins from the Philadelphia Phillies system and middle infielder Jamie Westbrook from the Diamondbacks system. Both Hopkins and Westbrook play for the Sydney Blue Sox and have seen their hitting progress within the last couple of weeks. Keep an eye on these players in 2016 to see if their time in Australia helped them push their game to the next level. Sometimes other sports can affect Major League Baseball. I know this is a baseball show, but last week I tossed in my pick to win the NFL playoffs. For those of you who don't feel like sifting through last week's show to hear who I picked, I have the Carolina Panthers beating the Seattle Seahawks this weekend and riding their hot streak all the way to a Super Bowl victory. The reason I bring up the NFL is because this week NFL owners voted to decide which teams will move to Los Angeles, a city that hasn't had an NFL franchise in over 20 years. The St. Louis Rams will be returning to their previous home in Los Angeles, and the San Diego Chargers are expected to follow. The St. Louis Cardinals and San Diego Padres shouldn't be affected by these moves, but the Oakland Athletics could be in trouble now that the Raiders have to make a decision on whether or not they will remain in town. Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf is trying to persuade the Raiders to remain in town. The Oakland Coliseum, which is the home to both the Raiders and the A's, and is also the last stadium to house both a professional baseball and football team, is no longer in good condition, and a new solution for both franchises will have to happen soon. The Raiders are threatening to move to Texas, which could benefit the A's. The city of Oakland is not willing to commit a lot of money, if at all, to help the teams build a new stadium, forcing both to explore their options. The A's would like to relocate to nearby San Jose, but the MLB has ruled that San Jose is San Francisco Giants territory. Mayor Schaaf is encouraging the Athletics to move to the site at Howard Terminal on the Oakland Inner Harbor. The A's have stated that they are in the process of researching new locations. In my opinion, either the football team or the baseball team needs to leave town. Oakland just isn't big enough for both teams despite losing the Golden State Warriors basketball team across the bay to San Francisco. The Raiders are a popular franchise who have continued to sell tickets, but only sell about 85% of the seats. The Athletics haven't done any better. They have only sold about 2/3 of the stadium's seats over the last 5 years. I think the A's should consider a move to San Antonio before the Raiders, since Southwest Texas is an untapped market for baseball. However, I think the A's may have better success in Portland, Oregon. They can remain in the American League West Division and build on a rivalry with the Seattle Mariners. For anybody who can't see the A's ever leaving Oakland, I want to remind them that Oakland is the third home for the franchise after Philadelphia and Kansas City, so moving locations shouldn't be anything new for the Athletics. I just hope that wherever they land after the Oakland Coliseum is a permanent home for centuries to come. Last week, the baseball world lost Monty Irvin, a Hall of Famer who started his career in the Negro Leagues, but was able to spend some time with the New York Giants once the majors finally integrated the sport in the late 1940s. Irvin was a 5-time All-Star in the Negro Leagues for the Newark Eagles and helped the Eagles to defeat the Kansas City Monarchs in a Negro League World Series that went the full 7 games. His double-play partner in Newark was fellow Hall of Famer Larry Doby. Once Irvin reached the majors, he was instrumental in helping the Giants win the pennant in 1951 and winning the World Series in 1954. He was assigned by manager Leo DeRocher to mentor a young man named Willie Mays. Mays said Irvin helped him to understand life in New York. Irvin said that by Mays' 3rd year, Willie was showing him around New York. Irvin ended his major league career with the Cubs in 1956 after spending a year in the minors, and a back injury in 1957 forced him to retire from the game for good. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1973, based mostly on his years in the Negro Leagues. The San Francisco Giants retired his number 20 in the year 2010, and he is one of the many Giant greats to throw out the ceremonial first pitch in Game 1 of the 2010 World Series. He passed away on January 11th of natural causes at the age of 96. At the time of his death, he was the oldest African American to have played in the majors and was the oldest World Series winner. Tidbits before I wrap up this week's edition of Baseball Weekend Journal. I mentioned Freddie Freeman earlier in the show, and I wanted to mention that the Atlanta Braves will be having a bobblehead giveaway promotion commemorating the time that former Braves All-Star Chipper Jones had to use his ATV to rescue Freeman from a rare Atlanta blizzard. Make sure to get to Turner Field on May 28th if you want to get your hands on that bobblehead. The Padres and Astros will play 2 spring training games in Mexico City on March 26th and 27th. This could be the start of a better relationship between Mexico and Major League Baseball, and I suspect that there could be a future regular season game in the works if all goes well with these 2 games. Major League Baseball also announced that some regular season games along with the entire postseason will be available for streaming in China. This is yet another bold move by the league to help grow the league globally and shows that Commissioner Rob Manfred is serious about making baseball accessible to future generations. And finally, the Tampa Bay Rays have been cleared to search for a new home in the Tampa Bay area. The proposal states that the team will stick to Pinellas and Hillsborough counties and can buy out their lease with Tropicana Field as soon as 2018. This is a big step in keeping the Rays in Florida, who were threatening to move if they couldn't get a new stadium deal. That will do it for this week's edition of Baseball Weekend Journal. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Baseball Weekend, like us on Facebook, and keep looking for new episodes on SoundCloud and YouTube. New episodes posted every Saturday. Thanks for listening to Baseball Weekend Journal. I'm Paul Shivari.